Hi there. Okay, I'm going to take you through creating, managing, editing, deleting suppliers LeadByte. A supplier is an entity that essentially provides you with leads. There are two ways to look at this. If you generate your own leads, so you do your own media buying, then perhaps Facebook, Bing, Taboola, Outbrain, Google may be your suppliers. You generate your own leads, but they ultimately come from those channels. If you broker leads, you may do both, but if you broker leads, so you have partnerships with affiliates, we call them suppliers, but you may call them affiliates, and they provide either traffic to your website or direct into your LeadByte account via an API. They feed you with leads that you then pass on to either a buyer, or you may acquire those leads yourself. Then they are also regarded as suppliers. So essentially, if you want to track where a lead has come from, you would create a supplier. So under campaigns, suppliers, this is where you manage your suppliers. Suppliers are either active or inactive. You can edit, disable, and add sub-suppliers to a supplier. You can also impersonate the login of a supplier. So if you created a supplier and you wanted to check their setup, you can do that. And I'll take you through that shortly. So quite simply, when you add a new supplier, you have four options here. Manual full, so manually entering the details in its full entirety. So you can see here company information, the user details, so how they log in, and what access they have to the portal. I'll quickly go through this now. You'll be able to see this through the impersonation of a supplier when you log in. But when you give if you're generating leads yourself, so for example from Facebook, Google, Bing, you'll probably find that you won't need to do this because they're just entities that don't need to log in which case I would always recommend the manual quick, just the name, don't have to worry about the user details. But if you are brokering leads and you need your suppliers to log in and check the status of those leads, how much money they've made, etc., then a manual will be recommended. And this is where you give portal access. And there's further reading on our help center about this, but it should be relatively self-explanatory. So do you want to give them access to all the leads that they've generated? Do you want to allow them to import leads? Would you like them to have access to these reports? And do you want them to be able to export leads? So that's pretty much it on that side. You can obviously invite suppliers via email. So if you were brokering leads to an affiliate, via an affiliate, you can invite via SMS. So if I just go back to the impersonation of a supplier. So if we take, for example, portal access here is either yes or no. You can see where it's green, they do have portal access, and where it's no, they do not. So if I take, for example, supplier 2, there is no 2FA enabled on here. This is a security feature. You can do further reading about two-factor authentication. So I should be able to log in absolutely fine on this one. So let me just go back here, and I'm going to impersonate the login as a supplier. And this is essentially what the supplier would see when they log in. Now, I don't believe there's any data here. I'm pretty sure there isn't. No, okay. So when they log in, they will have access to this portal if you give them access, and it will show them what campaigns they're running, how many leads they've generated, how many are valid, invalid, how many leads have been rejected, how many are approved, essentially billable, how many have been returned if leads are returned, and how much they're paid, and the currency in which they're paid in. And that currency can be dependent on the campaign. And then they have other such features here as well. So yes, that is creating, managing, editing a supplier. It's very important if you want to track your leads on a regular basis, and especially if you are brokering leads and you need to assign a payout to a supplier for leads, then you'll need to create that entity as a supplier in LeadByte.